You're listening to DraftKings Network.
You know that sound. It's the sound of money hitting your Venmo account, a friend paying you back, or maybe it's getting cash back from your favorite business when you pay with the Venmo debit card, or it's realizing you can pay with Venmo at checkout at thousands of brands. Now, there are so many more ways to answer the question, what's your Venmo? Download Venmo today. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Dosh Cashback terms apply.
Welcome to the Hockey Show. My name is Roy Bellamy. David Drork's right here. He's from the Hockey News. Rosie is in the seat, and Ethan is in Montreal.
Yeah, we're gonna chisel him out of his hotel up there in a few minutes.
Yeah, he's on ice right now. And Virk from Prime Monday Night Hockey joins us here, and we're gonna get started with our snapshots. What's your hot take?
My hot take is, I don't know how hot it is, Adnan, but I think it's kind of common sense as we talked about at this point. But I think that John Gibson, goaltender for the Anaheim Ducks, soon to be goaltender for somebody else, he is going to have a ginormous impact on the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, is my hot take. I don't know where he ends up. He's talked about wanting to go to Carolina and Edmonton, which obviously two of the top contenders would make sense. John Gibson in Edmonton scares the bejesus out of me because he's so consistent. I don't know if it would work there because I don't know if Stu Skinner's ready to give up his crease or if they do that. But John Gibson is going to have a major impact on the playoffs within the next month or so. That is my hot take. Adnan, do you agree?
Yeah, I'm with you, David. I mean, I think the Carolina one was fascinating because I'm with you. I think in Edmonton, Skinner, they feel like is the guy. Whether or not he is or not, we shall see. Obviously, was able to get the Oilers to Cup final, losing 7. But I could see that being rather uneasy if those two are there together. I think throughout the year, we've realized it's a 2-goalie system. You don't have Grant Fuhr playing 70 games and somebody just pick up the scraps. Mm-hmm. So you do need to have a 2-goalie system. But then come playoff time, there does have to be an alpha male. And I don't think Gibson would want to be taking a back seat. But Carolina is fascinating because Freddie Anderson's woes and injuries, and obviously the fact that they swung for the fences with this Rantanen trade. They're trying to win right now, and if they get an upgrade in goal, then maybe this could be their year. So I'm surprised Gibby's 32. It's funny. I wouldn't have known off the top of my head, but I was thinking about it. He has been around, I think, longer than people realize, and could be a steadying influence for that Hurricanes team.
Yeah, even at 32, I don't think he's got a lot of wear on those tires. I think especially the last few years, whether it's been injury or whatever, I think he's pretty fresh and he's ready to win. Roy, your hot take?
Yeah, fellas and lady. I'm really starting to think that this Four Nations tournament is not for the cash grab that I thought it was going to be for the NHL. No. It was specifically created to, once again, shove Sidney Crosby down our collective throats. I am tired of this shit. This all started with the injury, the upper body injury that I sustained last week. And it was all, is he going to play? Is he going to play? Is he going to play? And made us wait until, the first day of practice to finally determine, yes, I am going to play. After saying, why?
What the hell was that?
I mean, I'm trying to talk here.
Yes, because I agree with you.
Oh, okay.
No,
Thank
Sidney
you.
Crosby.
I thought Rosie was chirping you, but she was giving you a right
I thought she always chirps me.
No,
Rose
drop
is
that
backwards
puck.
chirp.
You're right, because now all I see is Sidney Crosby. But
Yeah.
And even Rose is getting sick of Sidney Crosby. Look at this, Roy.
Thank you.
There you go.
You're rubbing off.
Thank you for being on my side. And the first game, obviously, Sweden versus Canada, it was just 3 assists. All right. It's not. They made it seem like it was the greatest 3 assists in the history of Canadian hockey.
Yeah, but you had to like the assist in overtime, Roy. The game-winning primary assist, right?
Roy, put some respect in my guy's name here. Sidney Crosby is now in 26 straight games in a Canadian uniform. That includes the Olympics, the World Cup, the World Championship. This and the 2026 Winter Olympics, maybe the last time we see Crosby play in a best-on-best. He's won gold medals and championships, the most of any player in this tournament. He's playing with Brad Marchand, who played back in 2016. We remember the 2010 Olympic gold medal. And you're telling me you don't like the fact you're seeing Crosby shining once again. For a 37-year-old, he was outstanding in that game against Sweden. And Sweden's got a great defense, by the way. I tell you what, Sweden's a bit of a dark horse. I looked at their defense like, man, when you're talking about Victor Hedman, Erik Karlsson, Ekholm, Forsling, Rasmus Dahlin, Jonas Brodin, Rasmus Andersson, and you're going to crap on 37-year-old Sidney Crosby? I get it. Wow. If it's NHL time, nobody likes Sidney Crosby. But playing for Team Canada, there's a reason I'm wearing the red, not just for Valentine's Day.
Because you're Canadian.
Whoa.
Come on.
Listen, Adnan. It was a line change. It was a reset at the line, and it was offside.
It did look.
It was offside. What are we
Get
doing
the
here?
hustle back to the bench.
Oh, get out of here! And also, I'm tired of hearing the words "best on best."
Okay.
That's a fair point by Roy. We keep hearing that every time. Oh, it's the first we've had a best on best, and so it does get a little repetitive.
Overplayed, I guess.
Yes,
I'm a fan of B on B. I don't even want to say it right now.
B on B.
Well, I don't know. I feel like you've just pointed out that it's played out, so I don't want to say it. But I am a fan of what it is. But yeah, we've been hearing it a lot. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I'm tired of it. Wins of the week.
Wait, does Rose, do you have a hot take?
Yes, Barkey's jersey is too expensive. You need to do a lower one because we want to buy jerseys, but with that prices, I cannot afford it. So that's my hot take.
The price point.
Rose, how much is it? Is it like $225? It's something absurd.
$240, and in the store, $280.
Oh my God, that's a lot of cheddar. Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
Well, it's authentic though.
I don't care. Give me something cheaper, even if it's not authentic.
Don't they offer like the different like levels of jersey? Like when I was growing up, you had like your base crappy jersey with the iron on, then you got like you're halfway there with kind of iron or patched on a little bit. And
but for Four Nations, no.
No replicas.
That one.
Four Nations,
one Four jersey. Nations, one jersey.
Oh, Dave, go. Winner of the week.
So if you want to give me a gift, you can send me a jersey, Roy.
Yeah, my kids don't need to eat this week. Let me get you a hockey jersey. Sure.
I mean, Jesus. You're acting like I get paid around here. I'm doing this for free.
Right, seriously.
David.
My win of the week, it's a goalie fight. It's in the KHL. But I've never seen one like this. These guys were in the handshake line. Torpedo had just beaten up Akbars. And the goalies, they're chatting in the handshake line, whatever. Yeah, what are you going to do with this after the game? Yeah, well, you only gave up 5 goals. Oh, I only gave up 1 goal. And then all of a sudden it turns into they're pulling each other's jerseys. They're like...
Same numbers.
What's going on? The backup goalies actually had to get in there and break it up.
And bust his ass.
No, yeah. Like one guy took a blocker to the forehead. Yeah, like that guy eats it right now. Like goalie fights generally are not pretty. It's hard to keep your balance with all that gear. It's hard to get a good punch thrown because you've got this big bulky stuff. So goalie fights generally they're fun, but they're not pretty. But at the post-game handshake line, like this is universally what people love about hockey. That everybody's I love the handshake line. What the bleep? So I like.
Listen, David, I was excited when you said goalie fight, but I'm picturing like Ron Hextall, Felix Potvin. I'm picturing like Patrick Waugh throwing haymakers. I agree with you.
Like
I like the fact that. I like the fact it was over a handshake line. I was hoping for a little more fisticuffs there. By the way, I love the Akbar's jersey though. Akbar's jersey is pretty sweet.
I've never seen a fight in a handshake line.
I
in
can't
any
remember
professional
either.
level.
Yeah. So that was, but if it's gonna happen somewhere like the KHL,
I guess. Yeah. Too much vodka over there. My win of the week is coming from the Flames Jets game last week. Braden Pashal caught a high stick from Mark Scheifele and had some choice words from him. This has sound, Rosie, so you're going to have to put that up.
Are you flipping kidding me? You high stick me in the flipping face, you flipping dummy. Flipping dummy. Like, you're a flipping joke. He doesn't swear, eh? I thought I heard that.
I love it.
So Mark Scheifele famously does not swear, unlike the three of us in this studio. Right. Initially, he did use an F-bomb, but we didn't have the sound potted up there. And then once he saw that Scheifele was there, he flipped the switch on that. So that's the win of the week because it's funny to me.
Well, that's straight awareness by him to like realize mid-chirp that like he's dealing with Scheifele. So then he starts throwing the flipping this, flipping that. And then for me, the best part of that was Lombi coming in at the end. Did I just hear that correct? Like, that's just perfect. I loved every minute of that.
I used to work with Mark Osborne, former Maple Leaf, great guy, and also did not curse. Would use flip, and it was hilarious because he was just constantly like he was using it almost in excess. It was like a parody, but holy flip! Are you flipping kidding me? Like enough with the flip, Jesus! No more flip.
Yeah, I mean, you know this as well as anybody. You know, back in the '90s and '80s when they played theatrical movies on television and they had to edit out the cursing, it sounded as ridiculous as flipping.
Watching Goodfellas, Joe Pesci's like, "Are you flipping kidding me?"
Yeah, exactly. It just especially snakes on the play.
Mother flipping snakes on this mother flipping plane
on this Monday to Friday. Fail of the week, David, please.
Oh my God! All right, I have two. We'll start in. I think it was in Vancouver. It was a game between Vancouver and Toronto. William Nylander, one of the best. No, okay, we're gonna go with the other one. We'll go to that. The Bakersfield Condors of the AHL. Great name, great logo, actually. But they decided to have an actual condor come onto the ice for the national anthem.
Oh.
The keeper, the bird keeper or whatever, who was bringing the bird on the ice, ate it, busted his ass, fell. So the bird, wings full, just flapping around the ice, no idea where to go. The bird keeper is just, trying to recover. The bird goes on the bench. Players are scattering everywhere. It went exactly the way that you think it would. Like, there's definitely bird shit somewhere in the Condors arena.
Going to get a Zamboni for that.
But if that's not a fail, I don't know what is. You don't bring live mascots to hockey games. It does not work.
And it was a carpet. A carpet.
Well, they didn't have a carpet for the guy carrying the 6-foot wingspan bird on the ice. Like, there's just so many fails. But yeah, we're laughing.
Again, cool mascot, cool jersey. Give it up for the Condors.
Yeah. All right, Bakersfield. Yeah.
All right. My second fail of the week, as I mentioned before, William Nylander of the Toronto Maple Leafs, one of the best goal scorers, one of the most exciting players. He gets a breakaway, comes in all alone on Kevin Lincoln, and then forgets to shoot the puck.
Oh.
To the point where he actually backhands it in the opposite direction.
Did he forget to shoot, or is it like a drop pass or something?
There's nobody behind him.
It was almost like he brain
I got to
cramped.
see it again. Roll it one more time if we can. I think David's right. I think he was meant to shoot and then try to recover with a back pass, and no one's there.
It was, oh man, that was rough. And didn't we just see somebody last week try a back pass on a breakaway, and it was like an awful fail? But this one, there's nobody within 5 feet of him.
Shoot. No, yeah, you're right. He whiffed on it, and then he tries to recover.
Oh my God. So, maybe that's just how good Kevin Lankinen has been this year, that he's got like a force field around his stick. And maybe he should have been playing last night against the Americans, but if that's not a fail, I don't know what is. You get a breakaway, you got to at least get a shot on goal, guys.
All right. I've been waiting for this one.
Okay.
All week, boy. All right. So by now, all of you know my feelings about the New York Islanders signing of Tony DeAngelo. And you guys obviously know my feelings about the man, Tony DeAngelo. And I won't go into it here, but...
That's some spicy takes, Roy.
You agree with Brad Marchand, basically.
Yes. The only time I will agree with Brad Marchand. Tony DeAngelo, in front of his own net, with an own goal. It wasn't just it wasn't a deflection. It was a straight-up shot into his own net.
That was worse than the Nylander thing, to be honest.
Yes.
I mean, that's a great net front one. Like, Matthew Tkachuk would be proud.
Holy moly, he forgot what side of the ice he was playing on.
Oh, my God, dude.
That's crazy.
That's hilarious, Roy. You're right. Normally, if it goes off an errant stick, a skate, a puck, who knows? But that is like there's an actual shooting motion by Tony DeAngelo.
Yeah.
So allow me to laugh at this. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, you're not going to do the
ha ha. No, ha 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 ha.
You don't even care enough to like give a full belly laugh.
I'm tired, man. All right, I'm sorry, but it's been a long week. It's been a long week for me. So, Adnan.
No.
What do you mean no?
My fail of the week?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Rose,
So
what's
my
your
fail of the week? Adnan. I don't know if you've been aware of what is happening with Montoya. I don't know
I'm
if
not.
you know all of the story of Montoya.
¿Por qué?
But if we can play the video, just the first part.
This is so good.
Is there sound?
Al Montoya, Inigo Montoya.
Hey!
Por favor, Montoya, por favor, por favor,
And he just runs.
Oh, that man's
It's
gone.
very cinematic, and then I don't know if you see that and you see all of the.
So Rose and Roy and Adnan, you guys don't have the context to this.
That's great. It's just running. Montoya just takes off.
yeah.
It's the Temptation
Is he funny? He's the
Island.
father of a child or something.
No,
The song and then lightning.
Yeah, Rose
and
is
then
obsessed with the
someone running
cinematography of that
towards him,
scene.
and the girl's like Montoya, no, and then he's like, please don't come close.
So he's chasing after his girlfriend, who he just
cinematic.
saw on TV cheating on him with another dude. It's like a Temptation Island thing in Spain, and they what did they, Rose? They cheated on each other like 3 times.
So that's
during
my
this?
fail of the week because poor Montoya, he suffered a lot. You shouldn't go on those shows. But,
No,
yeah.
I mean, isn't that the definition of FOFA? Going on to a show like that, bleep around and find out.
No, it's FAFO.
So, well, you know what? That's why I'm not an
Around
acronym
and
guy.
DEI.
Look, you find out, and then you bleep around.
Okay.
You check the terrain. All right,
Okay.
There you go.
But that was my fail of the week. But I have one more question before you go, Adnan. And
Yeah.
there's always, in the Oscars, there is always a storyline behind it. Like the year of Argo, the storyline was, USA saved the day. I don't have an opinion here.
Save the day from terrorism.
Yeah, but they did not say they did not tell the story accurate because they tell that two people like Great Britain was.
Well, that's how it usually is, right? It's based on a true story. So
it's not a documentary. There's some historical inaccuracies.
What I'm talking about. So, what do you think is the storyline this time for this Oscars?
Well, it's interesting. What was going into it, Rose, was the fact that there was no real frontrunner. It felt like it was Emilia Perez with 13 Oscar nominations and The Brutalist, which won Best Picture at the Golden Globes, and Adrian Brody won Best Actor, and Brady Corbet won Best Director. But this past weekend, when we were all watching the Eagles win the Super Bowl, big news for Anora, which is my favorite of the Oscar contenders. It won the PGA, which is the Producers Guild Award, and it won the DGA, which is the Directors Guild Award. So now Anora has surged to the front. One of the stories with Emilia Perez has been that its lead actress, Sofia Garlau-Gascon, was a great story. First trans actor ever nominated. Then they found her tweets, and she's got like some terrible vitriol against George Floyd and Islam and all these things. I'm like, oh my God. So now everyone's like, I can't vote for this. Can't vote for this movie. Emilia Perez is in trouble. And the vote, by the way, is February 11th to February 18th. Vote's going on right now. And The Brutalist, people like it. And they go, wait, how long is this movie? 3 hours and 15 minutes. Oh, man. So Anora is also a spicy movie because it's about a sex worker in Brooklyn who falls in love with the son of a Russian oligarch, and all hell breaks loose. But there's a lot of sex in this movie. I mean, the first 30 seconds is set in a strip club. Is that really a movie that's going to win Best Picture? So the story of this year's Oscars is a wide open Best Picture race, and David's right. I think it could be a yes to Anora.
I got my vote. I've just heard about the 30-second opening, but I'm in.
I mean, it better be about a lot of sex in this movie. It's about a sex worker, although Pretty Woman did not have a lot of sex in it, right?
Correct.
No, it didn't. But Showgirls did, and Showgirls was a classy movie.
Different period of time. Not with a lot.
But maybe, Rose, listen, you loved Wicked. You know, the Oscars goes by preferential ballot, meaning you rank it 1 through 10. So if Wicked gets enough fourth place votes and those other films I mentioned are polarizing, maybe we'll be Singing Pretty and Cynthia Erivo's up there winning Best Picture.
And celebratory hand lift like this is the Breakfast Club or whatever.
Dirty Dancing.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. And then Virk from Prime Monday Night Hockey. Thank you for joining us, Adnan.
Thank you so much, guys. This was awesome. And go Canada. I know, listen, Canada, USA is probably going to be the final on the 20th. We're not going to be friends that night. But tell you what, man, that Sweden defense is pretty good. Finland, terrible.
Go Finland!
Anthony DeMarco of the Daily Faceoff joins us here, and he is covering the Four Nations tournament, and we're going to talk to him about that. And I want to start with the biggest fear that every NHL general manager had going into the Four Nations tournament, which was potential injury, and that happened to Shea Theodore during the the Sweden-Canada game, and now he's done for the tournament, and who knows how long he's going to be done for the Golden Knights. So, what would you say is the level of fear that the general managers have going into this tournament about injury?
Well, I think it's substantial. Like, I mean, it's very reminiscent from the 2014 NHL, or the Olympics, rather, when John Tavares got knocked out. I believe he missed the end of the regular season for the New York Islanders. And I remember then general manager Gar Snow being very vocal about how upset he was. But look, that's the inherent risk when you have these tournaments, especially in season, that are kind of replacing the All-Star game, but you're not going to see nearly the level of intensity in an All-Star game that we've seen thus far in the Four Nations, or that we'll likely see next year in the Olympic Games. And look, I mean, this is an NHL run event, so everyone was apprised and everyone signed up on what the potential risks were. But for Shea Theodore and the Vegas Golden Knights, it was a worst case scenario. I think he's listed as week to week, so maybe not quite as bad as the Tavares injury from 11 years ago. But hey, it is what it is. It comes with the territory.
If that's the bar, the Tavares, like that's not anything I don't think anybody that's dealing with NHL wants to hear right now. But that kind of leads me into the next thing I wanted to bring up, and that's just the intensity and the physicality that we've seen in the first two games. I wasn't sure what to expect in that regard because it's best on best, but it's not, the fact that they're so intent on hitting, that they're taking it so seriously that it has a playoff feel. A little bit surprised, but quite pleased with what I've been seeing. Have you been surprised by how into it the players have been to this point?
I haven't been that surprised, honestly. I know a lot of people were kind of dunking on this event. It's a fabricated event, which is true. It's a one-off event, which is true. You don't have Russia, you don't have Czechia, you don't have the Slovaks. But, like, especially when it comes to the Americans and that game last night, that blowout victory over the over Finland, they were cooking, man, physically. Like Matthew Tkachuk got into it with Mikkola in the second period. The Kachuk brothers, with 2 goals each on the night, were just in the kitchen of the Finnish defenseman all night long. And even with the Canadian game was a little less, I guess, physical and aggressive, but the Americans built their team with a clear directive under general manager Bill Guerin. And you look at some of the names that they left off, like Cole Caulfield, Alex DeBrincat, Clayton Keller, guys who maybe talent-wise were a bit better. You knew that they were building a team to be intense and physical, and thus far they've lived up to it. And I think that this tournament in particular is something that the Americans are really looking to use to establish themselves as potentially the new hockey superpower internationally.
Talk about how Mike Sullivan put his lines in a blender during this game, because the Kachuk boys dominated that game, and it was basically because they got paired together in the middle of the game. They weren't Mike Sullivan said he wasn't expecting to play them at all together in this game, and they finally decided to do it. Like, I don't understand the logic and thinking. I guess he wanted to spread things out throughout the 4 lines, but talk about his coaching in this tournament so far.
Well, first off, he got John Tortorella to wear a suit and tie and ditch the sweater vest. So that's the biggest development for me so far.
This is America. You wear a suit.
You wear suits and ties at this level, young man.
But back on a serious level, on a serious note, like, I found it peculiar that they weren't playing together to start the tournament, but then they get put on the either way on both wings of Jack Eichel, and they just took over in that second period. And I think it was kind of essential for the Americans to do something to spark that team after the first period, because the Finnish players really started coming on. And the forwards in particular of Finland, when they got possession in the offensive zone, like, they were creating chances. Like the Rantanen, Barkov, Lehkonen line in particular, I thought was one of the better lines of all 4 teams through the first, I guess, 5 periods or so, because obviously in the third period it became just a blowout victory for the Americans. But once the Kachucks got put with Jack Eichel, the entire tide kind of turned. And for the Americans, you are limited a little bit because they only have 2 right shot forwards in Jack Eichel and Vincent Trocheck, who both play down the middle of the ice. So every single winger on every single line is a left shot. So I guess that is something that was playing in for Mike Sullivan. But for me, it was kind of the low-hanging fruit as something to spark the team to put these 2 guys together, along with a guy like Jack Eichel, who's playing second fiddle to Austin Matthews, but is still a phenomenal player in his own right. I think it was great in-game coaching by Mike Sullivan, and it clearly paid off as the brothers combined for 4 goals on the night.
So I want to talk to you now about another head coach in this tournament, and that's John Cooper behind the bench for Team Canada. I was a little taken aback when the game ended the other night, and I started looking through the stats, I started looking through the sheets, and I saw the ice time for Team Canada, and it really threw me a little bit, just because you would think when you're building a team for something like this, like, you have your choice of guys, you know how you want to build your lines, and you would think, at least I would, that they would build a team that they could roll their 4 lines, and that is not what John Cooper did at all. I think like Brad Marchand played like 11 minutes. Konechny played like 10 minutes. I mean, obviously Shea Theodore going out threw off the back line. But forward-wise, I was just confused because you would think that you'd want to keep guys fresh. It seemed like Canada maybe fell off a little bit after a really hot start. So I'm curious, do you think that's something they're going to continue as the tournament goes on? Or maybe they'll even things out a little bit more?
Well, I think they're looking to even things out because as per the line rushes today for Team Canada in practice, Konechny's coming out, Sam Bennett is coming in, and they're going to go with the all-Tampa line with Cirelli and Hagel now centered by Braden Point, and Bennett is going to move up to, I guess, the 3rd line, or maybe that becomes the 4th line, and center Brad Marchand and Seth Jarvis. So clearly there was something about that bottom 6 that John Cooper was not overly fond of. Yeah. For me personally, like, I think this is the risk that Canada ran when they did leave some more talented guys off the team, like let's say a Mark Scheifele or even a Zach Hyman. Like, look, I know that Mitch Marner scored the winning goal, but that top line for me wasn't nearly as effective consistently at 5-on-5 with Reinhart, McDavid, and Mitch Marner. So, and I think that because of the role players, if you will, that you brought onto this team, whether that be like a Sam Bennett or Brandon Hagel or Travis Konechny to a lesser extent, you do kind of limit how much line juggling you can do. But clearly Cooper was very impressed with his top 6 guys. It was the bottom 6 that he wasn't a big fan of. And it seems as though, at least from the early indications from the line rushes, that we are going to see not only a lineup change, but the entire lines in the bottom 6 get rejigged here.
Boy, that John Cooper's kind of biased, isn't he? Playing all his Lightning players together.
Go with what you know, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
The thing about Team Canada, Anthony, that scares the bejesus out of me, and I mean, this is no surprise, I guess, based off what we saw, but that power play, that top power play particularly, that's like an all-star team and then some. Is there going to be any strategy more important when facing Team Canada other than stay out of the bleeping penalty box?
No, I think that's a good strategy. And I saw like this tweet where it was like McDavid to Crosby to McKinnon should be an illegal sentence or something. Like it was like it's ridiculous, you know. And then you have Reinhardt on the half wall on the far side as the trigger man, Makar at the top. Like, no, for sure that power play unit is absolutely disgusting in all the best ways possible if you're a Canadian, in all the worst ways possible if you're American. But I think that is what you guys got to do if you're facing the Canadian team. And look, credit to Sweden. I thought the Swedish defense really kind of locked things down from the second period on 2 nights ago against Team Canada. And at 5-on-5, it did kind of become a struggle in the second half of the game for the Canadians to really generate chances consistently. And I think the Americans have... Well, if Quinn Hughes was there, I think they would have had the best defense. Without him, I say they were playing slightly second fiddle to the Swedes. But I think the Americans have the speed and the puck moving ability to play that way 5-on-5. But certainly on the power play, if you're defending that Canadian power play, it is going to be an uphill battle because of all the names we were just talking about.
You know, I really, really dislike mentioning this man. But I have no choice because the way people tell it on Wednesday, Sidney Crosby had the biggest 3 assists in the history of Team Canada. I mean, my entire timeline was filled with just I was about to say the word I told you last night. I'm not going to do that right now, but yeah, it was just a complete love fest on Valentine's Day today for Sidney Crosby. Like, how would you grade his level of play on Wednesday?
Oh, I mean, A+ from
God
a storyline.
You're asking a Canadian how Sidney Crosby played in Canada, dude.
Damn it.
It was storybook, right? Because obviously in Montreal, it gets started off with Mario Lemieux, like a local folk hero gets brought out, and it was kind of like a passing of the torch moment.
Passing of the torch?
Just,
you could have done that in Pittsburgh.
But even on an international scale, because Crosby is kind of playing the role that Lemieux was playing 23 years ago in Salt Lake City. Yes, I know for the Americans, for you guys, that's also kind of like something bad to look back on.
I don't want to talk about it.
You
I don't want to talk
exactly.
about that.
But if you really look at it, like that's what the role Crosby's playing right now. And at every international stage since Crosby entered the NHL, like they have always dominated. Like, yes, 2010, the Team USA really gave them a run, both in the preliminary round and in the gold medal game. But from 2014, 2016, they haven't lost a game since the 2010 Olympics in best on best, if I'm not mistaken here. And Crosby has been the face of all of those Canadian teams, the captain of 2014 and 2016. So I think like it's hard to diminish what Crosby has been able to do. And 3 assists in game 1 once again shows why he still is a player at an elite level at 37 years old. So look, hey guys, I'm someone that has covered the Flyers closely for a decade now. So I'm no Sidney Crosby lover here, but you got to call a spade. And certainly I do get a bit biased when he throws on the Team Canada jersey in international play.
Yeah, that must be really weird to have to cheer for him on Team Canada. When, quite frankly, you should be feeling the same way I do.
Oh, for sure. Like, I would have loved it to be Claude Giroux 10 years ago, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, he's someone that he's kind of like unstoppable in the way that you have to respect him. And just the way that he was able to, just that play in 3-on-3 where you hit the blue line and you throw it back to your own blue line, to just have that hockey sense, it's just off the charts. And look, talent-wise, McKinnon's more impressive, McDavid's more impressive, even Makar's more impressive, but it's that hockey IQ and that sense that I still think is unmatched in the NHL to this point.
So looking ahead to Saturday, we've talked about how insane it's been up there for the past couple of games, and there's been a lot of talk about just the atmosphere overall, not just in the Bell Center, but just around the city of Montreal, that it's been buzzing with this tournament. So now we get USA-Canada, which I feel like everybody's like jacked up for at this point. The Americans look great. The Canadians are stacked. What do you think? As somebody works in that building, knows that city, what's it going to be like on Saturday?
Oh, it's going to be electric, and like not to bring the political end to this, but when you make Quebecois people proud to be Canadian, you know that you pissed them off real good. That really seems like what's been happening here. I've never seen so many Francophones like donning the red Team Canada jersey, so proud to do it. I'm not a fan of this, but the booing of the American national anthem, I really don't. It's not something that I even like to talk about because it upsets me, quite frankly. But that is something that happened, and it is a reality that we're living in the current political climate in North America. And I think you tie all that together. You consider the fact that the Canadians have or the Americans rather, have kind of announced themselves as the resident bullies of this tournament on the backs of Matthew and Brady Tkachuk. And I think that they're going to bring a level of physicality that I do think the Team Canada certainly took into consideration while building this team. Colton Parayko, from a talent perspective, I don't think should be in this tournament. I think he was the worst defenseman for Team Canada against the Swedes, but I think that he was brought in for the game against the Americans because they're not an overly large defense on Team Canada, and I think that they're expecting a very, very physical hard forecheck from Team USA. So I think it's going to be an electric atmosphere from a political perspective, from a hockey perspective. And I think the way that the Americans play are certainly going to drag everyone in the building into the fight. And it's going to be an absolute nuclear type of climate inside the Bell Center from the get-go on Saturday night.
Anthony DeMarco covering the Four Nations tournament for the Daily Faceoff. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot, boys.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was dealing with piles of paperwork and frustrating forms, and then waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. Now Taxes is easily uploading your forms to a TurboTax expert who's matched to your unique tax situation, an expert who's backed by the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. While they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on their progress, and then you get the most money back, guaranteed, all while you go about your day. No stressing, no worrying, no waiting. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
All right, it's time to talk about how the Panthers did this week. We're going to start with Saturday versus Ottawa. It was the Tkachuk Bowl, and the Panthers won 5-1. Both Tkachuks ended up scoring in that game. Matthew Tkachuk also had 2 assists. He had a 3-point night, and they put the puck on net in that game, man. I mean, it was 11 shots on goal for Brady Tkachuk on 13 attempts, and 8 shots on goal in 11 attempts for Matthew Tkachuk. And that trend would continue into last night for Four Nations. So, it was a dominating night for the Panthers, especially in that second period when they scored 4.
And Matthew Tkachuk got it started with the power play goal early in that second period, and it really, the game kind of flipped on a switch because Ottawa was up 1-0 after the first, despite the Panthers out shooting them. I think it was 16-8, 16-9, something like that. Linus Ullmark was really good, as he has been most of the season for Ottawa. But yeah, the Panthers, when they get rolling, dude, they're like a freight train. And that second period, it felt like the Panthers were really in their comfort zone.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me, now that I'm in Four Nations mode, it kind of reminds me of the game we watched last night, right, where the Tkachuks just kind of took over the show. And the Panthers have been doing this a lot recently, where they just outshoot opponents like crazy. They kind of fall behind early, and then they take control of the game in the second and third period. And we know what they do with a lead in the third period. They put that boa constrictor on them. So it was a good way to go into the break. Like, the Panthers are rolling going into the break, which is something that they needed to be doing because they hadn't been playing very good hockey from December to January. And I think I mentioned this last week, but again, it just goes to show, how important Aaron Ekblad is to this team, because his return to the lineup pretty much lines up exactly with when the Panthers got hot and when they started looking like the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers again. So it was good to see them go into the break with a big win against Ottawa and just get that momentum rolling. They're in first place in the division. And now, we can watch these guys here at this awesome tournament, and the other guys can rest up at home and get ready for the stretch run.
Ethan is currently in Montreal right now, so he was able to see, I will hope, both games. Did you see both games?
I did not see both games. I saw we were at USA Finland last night. I watched Sweden Canada. I didn't get up here until yesterday afternoon, that being Thursday afternoon. Sweden Canada was amazing, but USA Finland was a really cool atmosphere being in the building. It's an interesting rooting experience. You guys obviously know where I stand politically, so you know how I feel about the rooting for the United States right now. But obviously being in that building and hearing, the Canadian anthem being booed, or the U.S. anthem being booed by the Canadian fans, it makes you feel some kind of way, to be honest with you, and gets you fired up.
Some kind of way, Ethan, is the random dudes walking around behind you while you're talking.
Yeah. There's a lot of dudes in this VRBO right now. That was my buddy College Mike. He's a good dude. We love College Mike. He's a friend of the show.
Yeah, College Mike with his very first appearance on the hockey show.
You remember that viral video of the guy who was being interviewed and his two kids ended up walking in the room and the baby.
College Mike is basically my child this weekend. Yeah. We're basically taking care of him like that.
Control your kids, dude.
Yeah.
We're trying to be professional here, and you got guys crawling in the room.
Did you see how I just powered right through that, David, though? You got to love that, man.
Yeah.
I didn't even say anything.
Did you see how we were going to let that go even though you powered through that? Yeah. All right, let's go into Wednesday in the first game of the Four Nations tournament. I'm not going to mention the other guy. The Canadian Team Canada. Not the Canadians. Team Canada won 4-3 in overtime, so they got 2 points out of the deal. Sweden got 1. We're going to talk about the Panthers in this situation. Sam Bennett was scratched. Sam Reinhart played. He was a -1. He was better defensively than he was offensively, obviously. 3 shots on goal. He had a block to give away and 1 hit. Now, Gustav Forsling is getting a lot of flack about how he played Sidney Crosby. And I said I wasn't going to mention him, but I have to mention him because I got to mention Gustav Forsling getting the flack. Now, the second assist that Sidney Crosby had in the game, Gustav Forsling played that as perfectly as humanly possible. Unfortunately, Sidney Crosby was able to pass the puck anyway.
What's he supposed to do? He's defending Sidney Crosby, and so he's supposed to also, excuse me,
that's fine,
defend against the pass?
Yeah.
Like, excuse me?
Yeah. Yeah,
he's playing, arguably, Roy, one of the best players in the world right now, even at his advanced
Not saying that.
age. No, I'm just putting it in as a caveat. But still, he played that quite well. It's not his job to get the trailer. It's his teammates' job to get the trailer.
Correct.
So
Forsling also made a play in overtime that could have ended the game. Like his pass to Kempe could have ended the game. So I thought Forsling had a good game. I thought that game in general was pretty amazing. My problem was, where was Sam Reinhart in overtime? John Cooper didn't put him out there for a shift in overtime, which I find absolutely ridiculous. Like, you've got a Selke Award winner and a guy that's going to score 50 goals in back-to-back seasons, and he didn't take a single shift in overtime. That's crazy to me. But you're throwing Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel out there together? Like, that's absolutely insane. I don't know what John Cooper was doing. They ended up winning the game, so I don't think he's going to get questioned for it, right? But if they don't end up winning that game, don't you think some people are going, hey, where's that guy that scored 57 goals last year and is going to score 50 goals again this year? Like, that was an interesting decision from John Cooper.
The way that he ran his lines and the way that he juggled his ice time has just been kind of questionable for me. It's a 1-game sample size, so I'm not beating too much into it yet. I want to see what happens against the United States on Saturday. But with a team as stacked as Canada, like, you think that they'd want to build it up in a way that they could roll 4 lines, and they did not do that at all.
Yeah. Sweden started to take over in the second period. We started to see that momentum start to rise a little bit, and then they had the 2-goal period and tied the game that forced overtime, which we got to see. The new rules, 3-on-3 for 10 minutes.
Dude, I've been saying for a long, long time now, if you just expand overtime to 10 minutes, you're going to cut out on like 90% of shootouts, which is kind of what we all want at this point. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they're going to take a long look at this and consider bringing it to the NHL, because I don't really see the downside to this.
All right, so last night the United States beat Finland 6-1. As I mentioned earlier about the Kachuk Bowl, both Kachuk boys ended up being offensive juggernauts in that game. Both of them respectively scored 2 goals. They basically look like the father out there, just out there wreaking havoc. I mean, I always have to say, just like most of the Panthers games, all the scrums happened when they were on the line, on the ice. Now, what I saw, though, was they weren't playing together at the beginning of the game.
No.
And Mike Sullivan said that they weren't going to play together during this game. He changed his mind. He absolutely changed his mind. The coaching by Mike Sullivan in that one did not make sense to me at all.
Well, Roy, we were having this discussion, actually. I was talking to Chris about this, and I was questioning Mike Sullivan's decision-making because he didn't start the Tkachuks together. He didn't start Zach Werenski on power play 1, right? And then once Werenski went to power play 1, the U.S. scored 2 power play goals. Once Tkachuk and Tkachuk were on the same line with Jack Eichel, the U.S. absolutely took over the game. So initially you're like, well, that's bad coaching. But it's also good coaching to, in a short tournament where you're only promised 3 games, make that decision on the fly like that 2 periods in to just be like, no, this is clearly not working. I need to change something. And he dumped Adam Fox from PP1. He put Zach Werenski up there. And look what happened in the 3rd period. From what I saw, in the building, you could feel like Finland played a really good first 2 periods, right? And then what happened in the 3rd period was the United States skill just took over. And I think the biggest part of that skill taking over was Tkachuk, Eichel, and Tkachuk being out there together and just dominating the game completely. Really specifically those two. Eichel was a bit of a guy that I was just kind of like, where is he on the ice right now? But the Tkachuks absolutely dominated the game. You see that shot from Matthew, and then that move from Brady was absolutely filthy. That was awesome. And you mentioned Walt. Every time his kid scored, they showed Walt on the board in the arena, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Put him in the Hall of Fame, please.
Penalty for time.
Shut up. Matthew Tkachuk and Nico Mikkola is going to have a nice little laugh once they get back to Panthers practice because Tkachuk's first goal deflected off of Nico Mikkola's stick. Too bad for him. Finland, Sweden, and Canada, USA tomorrow. The standings right now, the United States are leading on the table with 3 points. Canada has 2 points, Sweden with 1. Finland has yet to win, so they have 0 points. Goose egg. So the big thing is United States, they have to win. Now,
if they win on Saturday, they're guaranteed a spot in the final.
That's it. Now, if Canada wins in overtime,
then they'll both be tied with 4 points,
yeah,
which would be pretty cool heading into the deciding game.
Yeah,
there's really no lose situation for us, the fans.
Yeah, if Sweden wins, they will have 4 points.
Correct.
So
if Sweden wins, Finland's done.
Yeah. Now
Finland is must win on Saturday, and that's as big of a rivalry game as you get.
Yeah, and if that happens, the 3rd game in this round robin, the final round robin game. Oh boy, that's going to be.
If Finland's gone, we're not going to watch the Four Nations, people.
Rose is out.
What do you mean?
I'm going to be watching the Four Nations, Rosie. I'm going to be in the building for both games Saturday. Let me tell you, I'm so pumped.
Get off my plane, Roy.
Okay.
Guys, you have no idea what Saturday night's going to be like. Saturday night's going to be unbelievable.
Epic.
I cannot wait for Saturday night.
Yeah.
The energy in this city.
What about your college buddy? How excited is background guy?
College Mike all of us are absolutely buzzing right now, fired up for Saturday night.
Nice.
We were all talking about Bell Center is a really, really cool arena. The energy inside it last night was amazing. And you could just get the sense that everybody's just anticipating USA Canada. Just from walking around the city, talking to people, everybody is going to USA Canada on Saturday night, and it's going to be an unreal atmosphere. You heard the boos during the anthem. I can't imagine what it's going to sound like on Saturday night. It's going to be something really special. Like I already told people, last night was one of the coolest sporting events I've ever been to. I can already tell that, barring the U.S. getting absolutely thrashed and me being miserable in Central Bell on Saturday night, this is going to be like a top 5 sporting event.
You mean like a team losing a deciding Stanley Cup final game 8-1 in the other team's building, something like that kind of feeling?
Here we go again with the complaining about and then being on the ice after the Stanley Cup final.
I'm just trying to see.
I'm done with this. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Happy Valentine's Day. Blah blah blah. Okay, goodbye.
Hey folks, it's Mike Ryan. It is big game week, and I've got just the thing to make your big game time a Miller time. From fireside conversations to football Sundays, winter means more moments with the coolest people in your life. Make these moments even better with Miller Lite, the great tasting light beer for people who love beer. A new year is a perfect time for friends, family, and great tasting light beer. Tastes like Miller time. Miller Lite is brewed for taste. It hits different than other light beers, so when you're hosting your ultimate game day party, why don't you bring out a beautiful silver platter of that amazing white can, and know you will make everybody there happy, because Miller Lite is the original light beer since 1975 and still the very best one. Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.